What is up, student anglers? I hope your day is just stunning. There's no other way to put it. But yeah, I hope your day is going awesome. Hope you caught some fish over the weekend. I know I caught 2. I was working the whole weekend though, so I didn't really get out much. But yeah, on this episode of 5 Minute Mondays, we're gonna go over how to cast a baitcaster. And I know there's a lot of videos out there, but each one kind of has there's a few things that I wish they would do differently. And I thought, why not make my own video and kind of teach you guys how to do it a little bit better. I'll go over how to set it up, how to cast it, and maybe some line that you should put on it just for beginners. So let's get into it. So number one, I'll go for line. So what I have on this reel right now is 20-pound test fluorocarbon line. And this by no means is the line that you should start out with. What I recommend is somewhere between 12 to 15-pound monofilament. And monofilament is it's a really forgiving line. It's good to learn with. It has stretch, so when you're casting those lure out and you set a hook, you're not gonna pull the hooks out of the fish's mouth. It just kind of is like an insurance policy for beginners. The reason I go with that mid-range line is just because it's not too small where you're gonna be, having tons of line on your spool and getting backlashes like crazy. And I like the bigger, a little bit bigger diameter, because once you get a backlash, and you will, it's a little easier to see and pick out. The reason I didn't go too heavy is just because heavy line can be an issue to deal with. It tends to have a little more memory, in my opinion, and it's just big and bulky and not really ideal. Now, when you go to set up your reel, you're gonna see right here, you're gonna have brakes on this side. They're either gonna be magnetic, which are usually external, or centrifugal, if I can get it here, which has brakes on the inside. And as you see, this reel has both. And what I'm gonna recommend to you guys to do is go in here, if you're using centrifugal brakes, and put at least 3 down. You'll see right there, I have three brakes set to on. And then when you're gonna close that, if you have magnetic brakes, I recommend you just crank those all the way to max. So right there, I got it set all the way to max, and that's really just gonna help you with backlashes. You're not gonna get quite the distance, but the point is you're gonna learn, and then slowly you can back off and you can start to really get some distance and fine-tuning your casts. Next, you'll see right there, we have a spool tension knob. And this one's clicking, others don't click. In my opinion, clicking is something a little overrated, and a lot of guys look for that you don't really need. It doesn't matter if your spool clicks, you can still tighten it. And yeah, just use whatever you got. So what you're gonna want to do is turn this all the way towards you until you can't really turn it anymore. And what that is doing, and it's putting a lot of pressure on that spool on the inside. And as you see, I'm pushing down the button right now and nothing's happening. The lure's not moving. And again, the reason for this is because I tensioned that knob all the way. So what you're gonna wanna do is slowly turn that away from you until you start to see that lure slowly start to creep down. Remember to have your button pushed down here, otherwise nothing's gonna happen. And you just wanna slowly release that till it slowly starts to fall. And even there was a little too fast, but you see it's just slowly falling. And once it hits the ground, there's no backlash, there's no line twist, there's no tangles in the spool. And that's where you want it set at when you first cast. In reality, you shouldn't even have to put your thumb on the spool when it hits the water, because those brakes are gonna do enough work for you. And this is when you cast it. So what I like to say is go sideways, because it's just a lot easier. It's a lot less hassle, and you're simply gonna throw it back, make sure there's nothing behind you so you're not gonna snag, and just a nice gentle cast that way. Now, some of you experienced anglers might have noticed that I did something very wrong on that cast, and that is when I went back and went forward, I held the reel so it's perfectly horizontal to like the horizon basically. And I know a lot of guys cast like this. I've even seen pros cast like this. And it's weird because they should know that they're not getting the full potential out of their reel. When you do that, it just makes the spool have to fight a lot harder against gravity. And it's just not ideal. You want to hold that reel like this when you cast. So every time I cast, I have it here, go back and forward. And you can see it's now perpendicular to the horizon. And what that does is it just helps the reel parts to work together. It helps the spool ride on those bearings instead of kind of having to fight their way with the bearings against gravity. And your line just flows real freely. Obviously, I'm not an engineer. I don't know the specific mechanics behind it, but what I do know is it works, and I highly recommend you try it. So let's do it the right way this time. As you see, I go back. That reel is perpendicular to the ground and forward. And I didn't put my thumb on the spool at all, and there's no backlash. So yeah, that's gonna do it for today's episode. I hope you learned something as always. Maybe you have been doing it the wrong way the whole time. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Always appreciate it. I love the views and the support. As always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'd love it if you subscribed. You already know what's about to come out of my mouth, and that is fish hard, learn more. I'll see you in the next episode.